Hey everyone, I'm Polo, back with some more League things. Today we're going to be doing the basics of the most important stuff for people to know how to play Kindred for Season 13 if they're newer players, and some tips for, I guess, returning players too if they don't know it. So, first we're going to focus on marks, which at the bottom left is the tier set of marks and where marks can spawn. I'm in practice tool just to show off some stuff. I have 6 marks right now, which means that the only things that can mark are the enemy buffs, wolves, or krugs. I'm showing it on this tier set to kind of show how the process of elimination and forcing marks to spawn where you want works. So, as you can see, the only thing that's going to be spawning here as soon as I fast forward is the enemy wolves, which because the red buff's dead, the enemy krugs are dead, and the enemy blue's dead, the only thing that can possibly mark in this tier set will be the enemy wolves. So this camp will have to mark even though there's no mark on the map currently. So you know for sure, like certain, it's going to spawn here. So as you can see, there's the marker right there. And you can kind of force the marks to spawn like this constantly just by knowing what's alive and what's not in the enemy tier set. So, for example, the enemy blue, the enemy red, and now the big wolf is dead. It means there's nowhere the camp can spawn other than the krugs. So now if I wait here by the krugs have to spawn as my mark. So it's just, I wanted to show you guys that as process elimination. I'm forcing the marks to spawn where you want. So now we fast forward 30 seconds and we wait. And boom, there's the mark. It has to spawn here. There's nowhere else it can possibly spawn. It's just the way that it works, and you can kind of do that with every tier except for the first tier of marks, because obviously when you're at 0 marks, it spawns on one of the first 2 scuttles in the game, and both scuttles spawn at the exact same time, so it's 50-50. No, there's no pattern to it, and I know people are always going to be like, well, it spawned away from me 5 games in a row. Yeah, it happens. There's bad sprees of RNG. Unfortunately, that's the way it works, and there's times where it'll spawn with you 10 games in a row and stuff. You know, it just happens, and it's a pain, but unfortunately, that's the way RNG works. Again, you can see that where the marks can spawn based on how many at the bottom left. Also, for instance of marks, since a lot of people don't know what they do, at certain thresholds of marks, you gain auto attack range. The first time you gain range is at 4 marks. You gain 75 auto attack range at 4 marks and go up to 575. Every 3 marks after the 4th mark, you gain an extra 25. So at 4 marks, you have 575 range. At 7 marks, you go up to 600 range. At 10 marks, you go to 625 range. At 13 marks, you go to 650 range, which is Caitlyn's range. I know a lot of people get confused about that, but no, that's how it works. That is the exact thresholds of marks. What else they do is they also give each of your basic abilities a little bit of a buff too. Every mark you gain gives your Q an extra 5% attack speed for 4 seconds. Every mark also gives your W more % HP damage and your E % HP damage. You can gain marks 2 ways. One is off jungle camps like I was showing. The other is off of champions. So it's very kind of niche like stuff, and it's very nice to have. The main thing is just the range feels good. You don't need marks to win the games, but it feels significantly better to have the marks. Another tip for marks that a lot of people know, obviously you can click somebody here to mark them, but what do you do if the bar is gone? Can you still mark somebody? And the answer to that is yes. So, as you can see, my bar is gone, but this icon here is on cooldown. So if I do Shift F1, you can see that the enemy rise is marked right there. You can see that after an 8-second delay, the mark will appear on him, and boom, there you go. Now he's marked. Now once you kill him, you gain the mark. It's the exact same mark, exact same buff as if you kill a jungle camp mark. There's no difference between champions marks or any marks for anything else. So yeah, it's very convenient. And the reason that Shift F1 marked him when the bar was gone is because you can mark people even if you can't see the bar, as long as this is on cooldown. They just hide the bar when you're in combat to kind of remove screen clutter. If you don't have F keys to use that advantage, you go to your abilities and you scroll to the bottom and go to champion specific interaction and change it from Shift F1 to F6 to whatever is comfortable for you to use. It's very, very beneficial. You can do Shift F1 if you, or not F1, sorry, Shift 1 if you don't have F keys or whatever. It's very convenient, very beneficial. And that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about with marks. Another thing I'm going to talk about is just the basic abilities, because there's optimal ways to use them that people refuse to do for whatever reason. So, as you can see, there's champion dummies here. I'm going to spawn a line of them just to show kind of how stuff works. 3 dummies there and 1 behind it. So your Q is just physical damage that gives you an attack speed steroid for 4 seconds, like I said, when you use it. So whenever I use my Q, now I have, until this goes away, 1.37, and then it goes down to 0.87. So, and it attacked the 3 closest things. It's the way it works, but you can kind of prioritize one thing. It doesn't always have to be the 3 closest things. So say I auto attack this dummy in the back, as long as I'm in Q range, even if it's not the closest and I Q, one arrow is always going to prioritize the last thing you auto attack. So you notice how this one didn't get hit and it got ignored. It's because it will always prioritize the last thing you auto attacked if it's in range. It's really nice. Again, it doesn't apply on hits, it can't crit, it doesn't apply PTA or anything, it doesn't apply a stack of your E. So you might be wondering, other than attack speed, what's its use? And it's also an auto reset, which if you don't know what an auto reset is, auto reset to make it so your auto attack instantly comes off cooldown and you can fire another auto attack even if it was on cooldown. So for example, that if I put my E on this and then I auto Q auto, I get a second stack of PTA and a second stack of my E on, even though the Q doesn't apply it. But I also got the Q damage off, so you can kind of get a little bit of extra damage by auto Q autoing there for the auto reset and get the second stack. It's one of the best ways to stack PTA or your E early game is by using your auto resets, and why, if you can, you always want to start with an auto then Q before Q autoing. So it's really, really beneficial to use for that. There's also 2 ways to animation cancel it, which are both niche and not very useful. They're only useful in my opinion if you're doing like an early Herald or early Dragon. One of them is unlock your camera, click and do not move your mouse, not even a single pixel, and then once your champion stops moving, you want to attack move, and then you want to directly Q in place, and you can see that my Q animation just like pretty much instantly gets fully skipped. It's not very niche. If you move your mouse even a pixel, it stops doing it. It's really annoying. Kind of pointless, but it's a thing. You can also animation cancel like Vayne or Kane can on a very thick wall. To do that, you just auto attack, put your mouse on the thick wall, and while you're auto attacking, you just Q back into the thick wall, and you can see pretty much skip the whole animation. It's not very useful for champion fights or anything, because again, most times you're going to want to be kiting champions and things, so this is very niche, not very useful, but again, it's an option. Another really, really important tip for champion abilities is, for one, your W does 50% extra damage to camps and things, but it also slows camps when it hits it, so it can help you kite. So as you can see, red buff moves at that speed whenever it's not using my W. When I use my W on it, I can kite it much easier because you can see it's slowed, and it also is my W doing 50% more damage. So if you're struggling to kite your jungle camps and stuff, use your W and kite it with the slow like movement speed from your W. That's what you want to do if you're one person who struggles with kiting and things. Another thing is your W also can be used for vision. So notice I have no wards or anything in Baron Pit. We have no vision over here. There's nothing I can do. I can't see Baron, and let's say your support refuses to ward or doesn't have a pink or whatever, and you don't. So you can use your W over walls, and it gives vision of this whole area until your W goes away. It's very, very useful. You should use this. It's a really good way to make sure you can have a chance to steal dragons or barons if you need to and go for clutch plays, or let's say you're in the enemy jungle and you want to check if the enemy Krugs are alive, if they're your mark, but you don't want to, you know, run directly at the Garen if he's killing it and jump phase first. You can W over the wall just to scout first. It's a very beneficial thing. And then last tip that we're going to show, I guess, is your E. A lot of people don't understand that your E, yes, it's your CC, it's your slow, it can help in a gank, but if you can hold your E until the enemy is lower, you should. For the reasoning for that is, if I put my PTA on this, just so you can see, and then I use my E on this one so there's no PTA on it, I did 212 damage after using the Q on that. So that seems nice. So let's say I put PTA on this one though, and then I want to focus this one, and I get it lower HP. When it gets lower HP, there's no PTA on it, but I did 338 damage. That's because your E can crit after the enemies below a certain like health threshold, but it also just does missing HP damage, so the lower their HP, the more damage it'll do. But if they're below a certain threshold, it also crits for even more damage. So the way that threshold works is it's a base 15%, and then it scales with 50% of your crit chance. So for example, if you have 100% crit, it's 15% plus 50%, which, so at 65% HP or lower, your E will crit and do even more damage. It's at 15% and then 50% of your crit chance. That's the way it works. I just wanted to showcase that. The only other real quick thing that I'm going to showcase is how like your ult works, and you can kind of use it for dragon steals and stuff. So for instance, if I come over here and I go to this dragon and I use my ult on it right now, you'll like, actually that's a good thing I should show, is I can still do damage to it. It will still heal at the end of it, so you can kind of deny people from smiting it there. But there's also another niche thing about it that a lot of people don't know, is if I keep getting the dragon really, really low here, and then I were to use my auto refresh cooldowns and then ult on it, I can't do damage anymore. Once something's at 10% HP, you can't do damage to it anymore. You can't do damage, you can't, like, you will not hurt it. But there's also another thing about that, is even though you can't do damage at 10% HP, you also can't heal at 10% HP, which is something a lot of people don't know. So, if I let this dragon get me really, really low, just to showcase that as well. So I have you can see I have my W heal up here. As soon as I let it auto me one more time, and then I were to ult. If I use my W heal, notice my heal didn't heal me at all, but it's on cooldown. If you're at 10% HP, you cannot receive any healing or any damage, which means if the enemy has a Soraka or somebody, their ult's completely wasted. If you're a Soraka player and you try to ult when your teammate's alone in Kindred ult, don't do it. Save your ult till after. Don't redemption on it. Don't do whatever. Save it until after, because if you're at 10% HP, you cannot be healed or take damage. It's a very important thing, and a lot of people miss that. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed just these little quick Kindred tips. I guess just to close out the video, because I can, I'll show you guys some wall jumps that a lot of people don't know. You can jump over this red wall if you walk into this little place right here, and then put your mouse right between this crack and the trees. Do that, you can jump over that red wall. You can do it vice versa. It's a little bit more finicky because it's hard to see where you wind up, but if you put your mouse right here on this part of the mouse, slow tip, and then you put your mouse on this crack down here, you can Q and you'll go back over the reverse way too. It's very nice. You can also come over here. You can queue over this wall. This wall is a little bit more annoying too, but the best place that I found is line up right there and then put your mouse on this bottom crack here. You want to put your mouse in the middle and queue, and boom, you're over the wall as well. Vice versa, you come over here and you position yourself, you click so you get in this really big crack right here until your character kind of starts going into the wall and then mouses out. Put your mouse right here on the log in this general area, queue, and you're over the wall. And then I'll show you the top side reverses of that too. So for this side of the map, what you want to do is you can kind of see there's little 4 blades of grass right here. You can see there's a little line, it's kind of faint, but if you put your mouse right there and you click on that, you kind of get in the wall, and then you put your mouse on the right side of this tombstone and you're over the wall as well. The vice versa is if you move your mouse right here, you can see this little crack in the wall. You want to click on that little crack in the wall, line up under the bridge, and then line up your mouse right here on this chicken wall, and then Q, and you're over that as well. And then just for other instance, another useful wall jump that a lot of people don't know you can do is you want to line up right here, put your mouse on the left side of this tombstone, Q, and you're over the wall. And then again, this one's a little bit harder because you can't see the side of the wall, but it's also possible. You want to click on this right side of this pine tree, want to just do this, and then you come stand right there. And then you put your mouse on this little tip, and boom, you're over the wall. Sorry, took me a second to remember the spot for that. Anyways, I hope you guys do enjoy. If you did enjoy, leave a like on this video. And obviously let me know what you want to see for build-wise and stuff. Tomorrow we'll be back to our usual kind of Kindred builds, probably just doing an on-hit or crit carry. We'll see. Anyways, though, if you do like the more informative content and me kind of doing less stream highways like I've been, obviously, yeah, leave a like, sub. We're going to try to hit 40k subs and stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Goodbye!